Hello, hello, and welcome. I am Moniquederouen. I am the mind body coach, and I teach people to self heal using an integrative approach. Years ago, I ended up with some pretty bad situations. I started out as a hairdresser. I was 18. I started getting really sick. I got carpal tunnel syndrome in both hands from so many different things, is what they told me, right? They told me that it was from rolling perms, from repetitive strains, from repetitive movements. My shoulders were locking up. I had frozen shoulder. Same thing, it was repetitive movement from round brushing, from blow drying hair, things like that. So my shoulders were acting up, my hands were acting up, my back, my spine, most of my spine hurt. My low back was burning in pain, sciatica going all the way down my leg most days. There were days that it was hard to stand up on my feet, that it hurt to go to work. I was on 9 medications. I was getting injections. I was buying braces. I was using tools. I was seeing so many people to help put my body back into place. But I wasn't getting the results long term. I wasn't getting true healing. I wasn't getting to the space where I woke up the next day and I didn't feel bad. I was still taking multiple meds a day. This went on for over 20 years. From the time I was about 16, it got really bad. And over the years of showing up and doing my job, which I loved being a hairdresser. It was so fun. I could be creative. I had clients that would let me do such amazing things. I was able to do fantasy hair and makeup. I was able to learn all these fun things. And it was really exciting to be in that type of a career. But when my body wasn't feeling good, it was very uncomfortable, very painful. And it was very sad. Over the years, I eventually suffered with severe depression and even turned to drugs and alcohol and dabbled in addiction for several years. I was always trying to stop the pain and not really understanding how. So today, I want to really give you the 3 things that I had to learn to get to the next space. This was some pretty basic information that I really wasn't aware that I didn't have access to or that I didn't really understand. When we've been brought up in an environment or a area where things are just a certain way, to question that is almost being a troublemaker. But pain had become a troublemaker in my home. It was now the home wrecker. And I had watched this happen in my family, in my past generations as well. Someone would get sick, someone would have pain, things would go downhill. It feels like you're a burden. It feels like it's hard to ask for help. You don't want to trouble people. So you tend to isolate. You tend to stay quiet. You tend to not take care of yourself because it's too much. It's too much trouble. We're taught to be strong, to have it all together, to figure it out. We're taught to pull up our big girl panties and knock the dust off our boots. In theory, this is really, okay, whatever, great. But in reality, it works a little bit different. And so I began this process of unraveling the threads that had built my life, deconstructing the walls that I had put up for protection. There was a moment where an aha was had, and my life changed substantially for the greater good, for the better. And I remember that moment. And when I go back to that moment, I'm going to share with you those 3 things that I really, really understood differently than before. And I'm not just talking about knowledge, information. I mean, my body experienced a different reality. So if we go all the way back to the basics, thoughts are the language of the brain. It's what happens up here in the headspace. We think thoughts, we think thoughts, we think thoughts. The average human thinks approximately 85,000 thoughts a day. From research, we know that 90% of that is from the day before, which means we're probably thinking a lot of things that are just useless information, just knowledge, right? But what are we doing with it? Feelings are the language of the body. How you feel projects out into your field. So I think a thought, I feel a feeling. I feel a feeling, I think a thought about that feeling. I can stay in this cycle for a long time and never come out because we weren't taught how to come out of the cycle. We were taught how to be in the cycle. I can teach you how to get out of the cycle. There are a few very, very simple steps that we take. And I'm right here with you. I've done them already. So we think and feel, and we think and feel, and we think and feel, and how we think and feel becomes our personal reality. Our personality, our personal reality, right here in front of us, is based off of the way I think and how I feel. And so if I've only been taught to think and feel in a certain way, how will I know any different? How will I ever change? We take action in that aligned space with what we think and feel. And if it's only been this road that I could go down every single day my whole life, how do I even know that this road exists? And if you go think outside the box, you're crazy. Call me crazy. I'm all in. Because I learned these things the hard way. I learned them through suffering and trauma and pain and grasping at anything I could to get out of it. I learned them through life lessons. And because of this, I became a different person. And because I became a different person, other people saw that. And they wanted to, in turn, be a part of this. And so I've worked with them now. And we've changed some things. And so if you're suffering in pain, if you are putting on ankle braces or boots, if you're using crutches, if you have knee braces to exercise, if you are using tools to do things, I'm talking to you. If you're getting injections in your hips, your shoulders, or your hands, I'm talking to you. If you're wearing specific shoes to work so that your body doesn't hurt, I'm talking to you. If you carry around things in your purse like pain salves and oils and headache medicine, I'm talking to you. This doesn't have to be a thing. I know it's crazy when I say that. The mind it's so hard to even believe. But if there were a different way to do life, if you could change your pain into something different, if you could get away with getting up in the morning and not packing all the things in your bag, if you could get away with coming home from work and still having energy and not feeling depleted, if you could rest when you need it and not feel like you're a burden, would you be interested in doing it different? So these are the 3 things that I had to learn to go further so that I could get to the root to heal. This is a process. It's not a one-step deal. It's a process. It's a walking. It's a journey. We're going somewhere. The first thing I had to do was get curious instead of getting angry, right? So instead of asking in frustration and pain and anger, why did this happen to me? Why did they do that? I came out of the victim mentality and I really said, I'm really curious why they did that. Wonder what in them thought that was correct or right for the situation. See, when I was able to get curious instead of mad, I was able to lower a little bit of my defense. It wasn't quite so personal. Why do clients try to reschedule their appointments, right? Why do these people show up this way? Why do these people not have concern or care for what they're doing? Those questions used to really hurt me. They used to make me a little bit irritated. They used to cause me problems. But now I really come from a different space. So I had to get curious. That's my first one. When I started really asking, why did I let them do the thing? Why did I make myself available for something that I actually wasn't available for? Why did I overgive, people please? Why do I show up out of alignment? Why am I undercharging my value? That was a big, big eye opener. The second thing that I really had to work on was knowing that I didn't know anything more up until this point that I was actually in presence. Meaning all the life that I had experienced had brought me here, but I didn't know anything more than what I had been exposed to at that time. So growing up in a small town where poverty is a pretty big thing, scarcity is a normal, I didn't know anything other than that. I didn't know that you could come out and do differently. Growing up in a house where pain was a normal conversation, I didn't know that you could live a life and move pain through the body. I had only experienced what I had experienced up to that point. I was a fish in a very small pond. There was so much more out there that I hadn't been exposed to. So when I decided to take myself out of the box and look at something bigger, it was fascinating what I saw. And so I had knowledge here, I had information, I had book smarts, but I couldn't put it into play. I couldn't use it. I couldn't practically integrate it. until I learned a new way. It was very uncomfortable to be in this space because you know what you know, but you don't know what you don't know. And I had been kept very safe in what I knew. Because to think of something bigger was scary. How many parents tell children they can't do something when they ask to do it? And I'm not talking about like playing in the backyard or like feeding the animal or like, no, you can't do that right now. I mean, like, they want to be big. They have dreams. They want to change the world. They want to fly. They want to be millionaires, whatever it is, right? And we shut them down so fast because we're so afraid that something bad's going to happen when we dream too big. That was the second fault that I had. That was the second rule that I had to change and come into a different agreement with. The universe is expansive. There's so many things out there that we haven't seen or touched. Can you imagine if you let yourself go there and explore, what if I could do this? What if this is available to me? What if I actually could stop the pain? What if I actually could wake up every day and have energy? What if I actually didn't need to isolate or be a burden? What if I could do it different? Can you imagine how different life would be if no one was shutting us down and saying, you can't do that, don't dream too big? That was a game changer for me. And the third thing that I learned, which was probably the most exhausting, and I truly believe took me the most effort to get out of, was be willing to do the work around the confusion. So when it came up, when I felt limited, when I felt less than, when I felt lack of confidence, this confusion would spin and spin and spin and spin. And it's so painful. And it was taking me away from my growth and my transition and what I was doing. And in that confusion, when I was finally able to separate it, there was this beautiful information that came through. But I had to sit in that boxing ring with my own brain, and it was so uncomfortable. To think negative thoughts about yourself, to self-sabotage, to think that it shouldn't be this way or that you're in the wrong. It's very hard. And I was literally just boxing this other version of myself, just like in the ring all day long, right? But it's how I became the ringmaster of this information. It truly is the way that I have conquered. Sitting in the discomfort is where we grow. And if you're truly happy where you are, that's amazing. Really. That was not my reality. I was working at a job that would have thrown me out in 5 minutes. I could have been fired from clients multiple times. I was hurting my physical body to go to work. I was doing a job that not only physically took something out of me, but I was in a space where I was always talking to people. You know what a salon's like. Lots of noise, lots of movement, lots of energy. And I was going home and I was depleted and I was washed out and I was in pain and I was suffering, and I was showing up late for work some days, and I was ready to call in because I needed to go to doctor's appointments, because I needed to get injections. I had to stop work several times to have surgeries that they weren't even sure if they would do the job, but we had to do it because that was the last resort that I was at. Because go back up to these 2 or 3 things I learned. I only knew what I knew at that point. I didn't know there was another way in. I went through this suffering, and I'm here to teach you there is another way. You don't have to go through the suffering. And if you're at the point where you have already been through tremendous suffering, you can still come out of it. I can help you prevent and reverse the burnout. I was personally in severe adrenal fatigue to the point that my tongue was white. I was not sleeping, and my entire nervous system was getting depleted. My immune system was dropping. I was getting very sick all the time. Not only chronic pain, but inflammation in my body. I had sinus stuff going on. I was sick to my stomach. I couldn't digest food. This all trickled from what started out as a little tiny thing, a little bit of pain, and it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew. And then at some point I had more negative things happening in my body than positive things. And I was attracting and creating more pain. And I couldn't figure out how to break away, couldn't figure out how to separate it. But these 3 little things were a huge part of my transition. Just a part, just a smidge, snippet. You don't have to stay in pain. Pain is not a life sentence. You did not sign up to be in pain forever. You do not have to carry a cross and burden for some kind of better life. I have done this work in my own life, and I have helped plenty of other clients. And I have a mission this year to help more. And so if you are in the service industry, if you work with people, if you serve other humans, I am talking to you. Pain does not have to be a way of life. It does not have to be a life sentence. You can move this and come out of it. And I am here to show you how. I'm going to leave some links in the bottom of the comments here. Please feel free to reach out, schedule a consultation. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. You're going to get a ton of free resources here. If you subscribe, you'll see every time I come on. I am Moniquederouen. I am the mind body coach, and I teach people how to self-heal using an integrative approach. And so if you have been suffering in pain, if you have been helping other people and hurting your own body to do this, I have a solution for you that works. Let's connect. Let's make this happen. You don't have to stay in pain anymore.